we're going to talk about what it means to be, quote, normal, quote, in a medical practice. Now, most of us are familiar with the concept of 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit as the normal temperature for a healthy human body. It's become a standard, something we rely on to tell us that things are functioning the way they should be. But when it comes to running a medical practice, what does normal look like? Is there even such a thing? Welcome to Medical Money Matters, the podcast where you can find experts, answers, and resources so that you can achieve mastery over the financial and business aspects of your practice. Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Jill Arena. I began my career in accounting and finance, and I have more than 30 years of experience running medical groups. I own and operate a national healthcare consulting and revenue cycle company, and I am the author of Physician Heal Thy Financial Self. In 2020, I co-founded the Physician Leadership Project, and my passion is to increase financial and business literacy for physicians. Episode 98.6. What's normal in a medical practice? Welcome to episode 98.6, where today we're going to explore an idea that runs deeper than just managing patient care or handling office logistics. We're going to talk about what it means to be, quote, normal, quote, in a medical practice. Now, most of us are familiar with the concept of 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit as the normal temperature for a healthy human body. It's become a standard, something we rely on to tell us that things are functioning the way they should be. But when it comes to running a medical practice, what does normal look like? Is there even such a thing? Just like our bodies, a medical practice has its own baseline, its own normal temperature, so to speak. It's the state where things are steady, functional, and predictable. That doesn't mean everything is perfect, but the systems and people in place keep things running smoothly. For a practice, this might mean staff working efficiently, patients coming in and out on schedule, systems operating as expected, and the day's flow moving along without too many surprises. But just like in our bodies, even a small disruption, something as simple as a glitch in the scheduling system or a team member calling out sick, can throw off the balance. The idea of normal in a medical practice isn't static. Just like how your temperature might fluctuate slightly throughout the day, your practice has its own range of normal. You might have days where everything's clicking and others where things feel a bit off, but they still fall within the range of what's manageable. It's when those fluctuations get too big that we start to see real problems. That's when the practice feels like it's running a fever, and we need to figure out what's causing the disruption. So, what contributes to this baseline of normalcy in a practice? One of the biggest factors is staffing. Your staff is the lifeblood of the practice, and when the right people are in the right roles, everything tends to flow more smoothly. Think about the balance between physicians, nurses, medical assistants, office managers, and administrative staff. Each person plays a critical role in creating that steady flow. When everyone knows their responsibilities and feels supported, the practice operates at its ideal temperature. But when someone leaves, when there's turnover, or when a key position remains unfilled, it can send ripples through the entire practice. Staffing shortages and turnover are major disruptors. Losing a longtime staff member doesn't just mean finding someone new to fill a role. It means training that person, getting them up to speed, and dealing with the transition. During that time, the practice feels the strain. Other staff might have to pick up extra duties, patients might notice longer wait times, or the daily rhythm could just feel a little off. All of this affects the practice's sense of normal, and it's something that every medical group has to navigate. Onboarding and training new team members can be another source of disruption, but it's also an opportunity. While you might experience a temporary dip in productivity or efficiency as someone new gets acclimated, strong training programs can help bring the practice back to its baseline faster. When a new hire knows what's expected of them, understands the culture, and gets the support they need, they can integrate into the flow more quickly, helping restore that sense of normalcy. Another key factor in maintaining a steady practice is team dynamics. Even if you have the best staff in place, if relationships are strained or communication is lacking, the practice will struggle to maintain its balance. Team dynamics are about trust, collaboration, and a shared understanding of roles. When everyone feels valued and respected, it shows in the way the practice functions. But if there's tension, it can throw off the entire group's rhythm. You've probably seen it before. One disagreement or miscommunication can derail the flow of a day, even if everything else is functioning perfectly. When you have a strong, cohesive team, you can handle almost anything. But let's be real, there are always going to be stressors that challenge that balance, and some of the biggest stressors come from the systems we rely on every day. In today's medical world, we're so dependent on technology, whether it's electronic medical records, scheduling platforms, billing systems, or compliance software. When these systems are running smoothly, they help maintain that steady normal. But when something goes wrong, it can feel like the whole practice is thrown into chaos. Think about a time when your EMR system crashed or the scheduling software went down. Suddenly, the normal flow of the day is completely disrupted. Staff are scrambling to adjust, patients are left waiting, and everyone's stress levels spike. These systemic issues are part of the daily life of a medical practice, and they can be a huge source of frustration. But the important thing to remember is that much like dealing with staffing shortages, it's how we respond to these challenges that matters. A well-prepared practice will have contingency plans in place, backup systems, manual processes, or extra staff trained to handle these disruptions. While it might take some time to get everything back to normal, having a plan can make all the difference in keeping the practice's overall balance. Beyond system failures, there's another layer of pressure that comes with the daily demands of running a practice: the pressure of productivity. The expectation to see a certain number of patients per day, meet financial goals, or comply with regulations can create stress across the board. This pressure isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it can push a practice out of its comfort zone if it isn't managed well. Trying to squeeze in too many patients in a day or cutting corners on administrative tasks just to stay on top of things can cause burnout, miscommunication, and ultimately a breakdown in the system. Daily stressors don't just come from the technology or the numbers, though. They often come from communication breakdowns. Whether it's between staff members, departments, or even between the practice and patients, poor communication can easily turn a good day into a stressful one. Think about how many misunderstandings happen in the course of a week. A physician's orders aren't communicated clearly to a nurse, or an administrator forgets to notify the front desk about a schedule change. These small breakdowns can have a ripple effect, slowing down the day and adding unnecessary stress. The key to keeping these stressors from completely derailing your practice is open, clear, and consistent communication. Regular team check-ins, clear protocols, and an open-door policy for addressing issues can help prevent small problems from turning into big disruptions. As we said in our last episode about building culture, it's about creating an environment where team members feel comfortable speaking up when something's off and where leadership listens and responds quickly to concerns. When the team is functioning well, when the systems are running smoothly, and when communication is open and effective, that's when the practice finds its rhythm again. That's when it hits its normal temperature. One of the most rewarding parts of this work is seeing what happens when everything comes together. When a team pulls together, there's a sense of accomplishment that goes beyond just getting through the day. You see it in the way the office runs, how patients are treated, and how smoothly everything flows. It's like the practice has hit its stride, and you can feel that positive energy moving through every interaction. A well-functioning team is something special. It's not just about each person doing their job, it's about how they do it, how they support one another, how they communicate, and how they share the responsibility of making the practice successful. It's the small things that make a big difference. The way a nurse reassures a nervous patient, how the front desk staff manages a busy day with a smile, or how the physicians take time to listen, even when they're running behind. These moments of teamwork don't just make the practice run more efficiently, they create an environment where everyone feels valued and respected. And when the team feels that way, it shows in the care they provide. It's rewarding for the staff, but even more rewarding for the patients. And let's not forget about the impact on the patients. That's where the real reward lies. Every now and then, a patient says something that reminds you why you do what you do. Maybe it's a thank you note or a heartfelt conversation after a tough diagnosis. Maybe it's a patient who was nervous and scared, but because of the care they received from the entire team, they felt comforted and supported. Those moments remind you that the work you do matters in a profound way. Patients often don't see the behind the scenes challenges, the staffing issues, the system breakdowns, or the daily stressors. But they do see the care and attention they receive when they walk into the practice. They feel the warmth of a well-functioning team, and when they express gratitude, it reinforces the sense of purpose for everyone involved. Next, we'll talk about the emotional rewards of hearing from patients and how those moments of gratitude can lift a practice even in its most challenging times. Before we get there, let's ponder the thought: normal in a medical practice isn't about perfection. It's about balance. When you have the right people, the right systems, and the right mindset, your practice will find its rhythm, and that's where the magic happens. One of the most rewarding aspects of working in a medical practice is the impact you have on patients' lives. Day in and day out, we're often so focused on getting through the schedule, handling the day's tasks, and making sure everything runs smoothly that it's easy to forget the bigger picture. But then something happens that pulls us out of that routine. A patient takes a moment to express their gratitude, and it hits you. What you're doing is truly meaningful. There's something powerful about hearing directly from a patient how your work has affected them. It might be a simple thank you at the end of a visit, or a note that arrives in the mail days or weeks later. Sometimes it's a conversation that catches you off guard. A patient who tells you how a routine checkup found something early, or a family member who expresses gratitude for the care their loved one received. These moments aren't just feel-good moments. They're a reminder that in the midst of all the daily stressors, the work you do matters in a deep and personal way. Think about it. That patient who was anxious about an upcoming procedure, but because of your team's care, they felt calm and supported. Or the family that felt heard and reassured during a difficult diagnosis. These are the moments that stay with you, the ones that remind you why you chose this profession in the first place. And it's not just about the physicians. Every single person in a practice plays a role in creating these moments of impact. The front desk staff who greet patients with a smile and help them navigate their appointments, the medical assistants who take the time to listen to patients' concerns, the nurses who offer both clinical care and emotional support. All of these actions contribute to a patient's experience. When a patient expresses gratitude, it's a reflection of the collective effort of the entire team. These moments don't just uplift the patients, they have a ripple effect on the whole practice. When a patient says thank you, it energizes the staff. It reminds everyone why they're here, and it helps balance out the difficult days. It can even bring the team closer together. Sharing those patient stories in staff meetings or even casually during the day reinforces that sense of shared purpose. It becomes more than just a job. It's about making a difference. I remember hearing about a practice that started a tradition where at the end of each week, they'd share patient feedback with the whole team. They'd read aloud a thank you note or talk about a positive patient interaction. It wasn't just a way to celebrate wins, it was a way to keep the team connected to the purpose behind the work. It helped everyone refocus after a tough week and reminded them that despite the challenges, they were part of something much bigger. What's interesting is that just like the way 98.6 degrees has become a marker for normal body temperature, these moments of patient gratitude help reset the practice's own temperature. No matter how off balance things might feel, whether it's a staffing issue, a system glitch, or just a particularly stressful day, hearing from patients has a way of bringing things back to center. It restores perspective and gives everyone that extra push to keep going. Let's take a step back and reflect on this idea of normal. We talked earlier about 98.6 degrees as the standard for normal body temperature. It's a number we all know, but we also know that not everyone's body functions exactly at 98.6 all the time. There are fluctuations. Some people run a little cooler, others a little warmer. And even within the same person, your temperature might vary slightly depending on the time of day, your activity level, or even stress. But unless there's a significant deviation, we don't worry about it. We understand that there's a range of normal. The same goes for a medical practice. There's an ideal state, a balance where everything is functioning as it should, where the team is working well together, systems are running smoothly, and patients are getting the care they need. But just like within the human body, there are always going to be fluctuations. Some days, things run a little hotter. There's more stress, maybe an unexpected staff shortage, or a system problem. Other days, everything feels like it's in perfect harmony. The key is to recognize that it's okay to have those fluctuations. What matters is how the practice adapts and responds when things aren't exactly normal. What's really powerful is the resilience of a well-functioning practice. Just like the human body has ways of regulating itself, sweating when it's too hot, shivering when it's too cold, a practice with a strong foundation can weather the ups and downs. It's the strength of the team, the systems in place, and the leadership that allows it to bounce back when things go off course. And that's something worth reflecting on. What's your practice as normal? Is it functioning at an ideal state most of the time, or are there recurring issues that keep throwing things off balance? It's important to ask these questions and to regularly take the temperature of your practice, not just when things go wrong, but as part of an ongoing effort to maintain that balance. One of the most valuable tools for keeping your practice in a healthy state is communication. We've touched on this earlier, but it's worth emphasizing. Open, clear, and consistent communication is the backbone of a strong practice. When staff feel comfortable speaking up about issues, whether it's a scheduling conflict, a concern about patient care, or even a personal challenge, it allows the practice to address problems before they escalate. Communication helps keep things flowing smoothly and ensures that everyone is on the same page. It's also important to have a culture of flexibility and adaptability. Just like the human body adjusts to different conditions, a medical practice needs to be able to adapt to the challenges that come its way. That might mean adjusting schedules, redistributing responsibilities, or finding new ways to support each other during tough times. Practices that are rigid, that expect everything to stay the same day after day, will struggle when things inevitably change. So, as we wrap up today's episode, let's remember that normal doesn't mean everything is perfect. In fact, normal in a medical practice is about managing the imperfections and staying balanced despite the fluctuations. It's about having a team that pulls together, systems that support rather than hinder, and the ability to adapt when things go off course. And most importantly, it's about the impact you have on your patients. Those moments of gratitude, those connections with the people you care for, those are what bring your practice back to its normal state, even on the most challenging days. Thank you for joining me for episode 98.6, where we've explored what it means to be normal in a medical practice. I hope today's conversation has given you some new perspectives on how to maintain balance, how to navigate the ups and downs, and how to find fulfillment in the work you do. If you have stories about your own practice, what makes your normal unique, or how you handle the fluctuations, I'd love to hear from you. Feel free to reach out and share. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss our next episode, where we'll continue to dive into the realities of running a successful medical practice. Front Office Revenue Cycle Education, an in-depth course on the impact your front desk has on your clinic's bottom line. This online, on-demand 2-hour course is led by seasoned revenue cycle experts who will teach your front office staff the importance of obtaining accurate patient demographic information, how to effectively collect money at the front desk, and their impact on the life cycle of an insurance claim. Available now online for $195 per person at www.healtheps.com under Courses and Force. Enroll your front office staff and watch your denials go away.